better plan his wedding. He ties the knot next summer, doesn't he? Next July with his bride-to-be, Demetria. So I'm sure she'll be holding him to that one.
Certainly will be. I mean, I think it was last winter, wasn't it, where they actually did officially get engaged. Pecco Bagnaia and his good lady Demetria, who we saw throughout the last stage of this season. She lives every lap with Pecco Bagnaia. She looked bordering on terrified for much of the final weekend of the season in Valencia. As the tension built up, the rider who, or the person you felt best dealt with that tension was actually Bagnaia himself, as there was all sorts of nerves within his team and within his family. Bagnaia just kept his head, just kept everything under control, won the World Championship from pole position with a victory.
It's Pecco Bagnaia, because he said at this very Grand Prix in Valencia, when he just won his first world title, here 12 months ago, he said, that's not it. Hungry for more. He wants more success. He said, you can only really be considered a true great, a proper legend in MotoGP when you are a multiple world champion. When you look at the previous riders in history that have won back-to-back Premier Class titles, Jeff Duke, John Surtees, Mike Aylward, Giacomo Agostini, Phil Reed, Barry Sheen, Kenny Roberts, Eddie Lawson, Wayne Rainey, Mick Doohan, Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez, it shows just how good Pecco Bagnaia has been over the last couple of years, that we now rightly mention him in the same breath as some of the proper legends in Grand Prix history. But one wasn't enough. I'm sure two isn't enough, Lewis, as well. He wants more. He said that's his target, to be a multiple world champion. But as we mentioned, he'll be a tough obstacle to shift from the top of the championship next year.
So they're given that whole Ducati team is built around Bagnaia. He's done such a good job of rallying that team behind him and making himself the focal point. He's earned that position, no mistake about that. Was a double world champion, and he will indeed take some stopping next year. Marco Bezzecchi, one of the riders looking to stop him. Simon Crowfar from Pret Lane informing us this is the second run for Marco Bezzecchi on the 2023 Spec Ducati. Of course, within the VR46 team, both Bezzecchi and Fabio Di Gianantonio next season will have the 2023 bikes, as will Marc Marquez and Alex Marquez in the Brusini squad. And one person who might not have...
He's certainly not leaving anybody in any doubt about his thoughts on the early incident with Marc Marquez, saying, well, he decided to end my race after 3 corners. These are the words of Marc Marquez. It was a very, very dirty move. And he's the dirtiest rider. Yeah, these are Marco's words. He was very, very angry. He was very upset that there was no sanction coming down for Marc Marquez. I think they did meet each other in the paddock a little bit later on, where they sort of, guess what, had completely different perspectives on what happened. But I think Bez just wanted to make it clear how frustrated he was with Marc. When Marc was asked about it, he just could not really be any more dismissive of Bezzecchi's complaints and criticism. He just said, I don't want to waste too much time about this rider. Didn't even name it. Clearly, very love lost right now between Marco Bezzecchi and Marc Marquez. You can understand Bezzecchi's frustration. It was a pretty tough move that Marc threw on him, going through that turn 3 here on Sunday. But still, so much to be proud of for Bezzecchi and for Mini VR46, just their second season together in MotoGP. And when you talk about big improvers in the World Championship this year, Marco Bezzecchi was 14th in the standings at the end of his rookie season and was a title contender and leapt up to 3rd place. So that was some massive leap forward from Bezzecchi.
3 wins, 7 podiums, 3 pole positions as well, and a sprint win in Assen as well for Marco Bezzecchi. One of the stars of the season, on and off track. He is such an entertainer. Although, as you already pointed out, he certainly didn't win many friends in the 93 camp on Sunday. Marc Marquez's former team. Just glancing at the notes that we put together for this test, I had a quote from Marc Marquez written down that he said when he joined Brusini. He said this on Sunday as well. He says, it's a very risky challenge. I need to smile. We've already seen that smile of Marc Marquez inside a couple of hours.
Yeah, a smile that won't be locked on his face for the whole of winter. He hasn't yet venture back out on circuit for his second run. Trust us if you're watching at home. We've got cameras camped everywhere. So as soon as the shots come up for Marc Marquez, Bezzecchi then having a run out on the motorcycle that he will run next year, the Ducati GP23. Was that the last corner or the first?
Turn one, I think. Yeah. Well, he's just in the final section, so yeah, he's through the final corner. So Bezzecchi will have lost it, you'd imagine, coming through turn 13 as you're breaking on an angle into 14. Bezzecchi running on through the gravel track. Bezzecchi currently in 17th place on a 1:31.7. As mentioned, not changing teams, Bezzecchi, but is of course changing machinery from the GP22 onto the GP23.
Yeah, the trophy covered a little bit bare towards the back end of the season for the 25-year-old Italian. Didn't score a podium in Grand Prix since that brilliant dominant victory. First unforgettable visit to the Bud International Circuit in India. No sprint win in 11 since Assen, certainly not helped by the training accident. Never a good time to get any kind of injury, but coming right before our two overseas triple headers for Marco Bezzecchi really did sort of put a nail on the coffin of his title aspirations, fracturing his right collarbone in a training accident. And he fought for the podium in the sprint and in the Grand Prix, which is astonishing. But clearly, Lewis, over the latter stage of the season, we repeatedly heard from Marco. I mean, there's no denying he was still very fast, he was still competitive, but it was the pain, the discomfort from that shoulder, which was clearly a bit of a speed-limiting handicap. We'll pick it up.
Expect from it today. Well, here we are. I mean, it's only one day, so we have to be really careful with the steps we do. And I think today we don't have anything big, so it's only details here and there. Some parts will go to Jack, and some other parts will go to Brad, so that we can test everything before the winter. Next year, what are our wind and a little bit cooler conditions, so just that.
And just finally as well, we know that you played not an important role, but a role in Marc's big move across to Ducati with a phone call when he was trying to make his decision. A big smile on his face after those first runs. It looks like it might be a bit of a challenger for you guys in Orange next year.
Yeah, that's for sure. And like you say, the first thing we
for so long. Yeah, Marc's probably going to be smiling. It certainly looks like not everybody else in the paddock.
Bad news for us.
Yeah, bad news for the competition. Did we expect anything less? Marc's still inside the Brazini Ducati garage. We haven't seen him out on circuit once again. Let's have a closer look then at Alex Rins, cutting his teeth here. Some early laps on the factory Yamaha. Of course, the last rider. Oh, now that would have been the last thing that Alex Rins needed. Tipping it into turn 6. That might have even been an off-throttle high side potentially there. Is he looking down? Was there something, does he feel like that was a moment where there was liquid maybe, or some fluid?
He's straight in the pits.
Yeah, on the left-hand side of that rear tyre. He got away with one there, didn't he, Alex? Now, after Acosta goes
finding
off
the limit.
Circuit.
Yeah, Alex Rins had that crash in the Tisa sprint in Mugello. We then didn't see him again until Motegi when he turned up, and did have an attempt at racing there with a hernia on the recovering leg, which forced him to go under the knife once again. They did resolve that problem for Alex Rins, but it's very difficult to overstate just how big an injury that was for Alex Rins, the biggest of his Grand Prix career.
There's Pedro Acosta then, finding the limits with the carbon brakes as he goes off into the gravel trap. Simon Crafar just reporting from down in pit lane that there was nothing on Alex Rins' tyre, maybe just running, clearly did the trick. And of course, I was just about to say, Alex was the last rider to win on an inline four-cylinder motorcycle, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The Valencia Grand Prix 1 year ago, when Suzuki bid an emotional farewell to MotoGP.
Pound for pound, you'd say that a Quartararo-Rins combination at Yamaha next season is as good as anything in the MotoGP field. One of the most naturally talented riders any of us have ever seen, Alex Rins. You just need to look at some of those victories on board the Suzuki to tell you how good he is. Yamaha have certainly picked up a class rider if he can get himself back up to full physical fitness again, and he will certainly keep Fabio Quartararo honest within that Yamaha team next season. And as we've already touched upon over the course of the morning, with the additional testing that they can do, and the fact that the race riders, Quartararo and Rins, will be able to do some of that testing at any circuit on the Grand Prix calendar next season, of course subject to Yamaha having the resources to do so. Of course, extra engines available and no engine freeze on development either for Yamaha next season, so you'd imagine that Quartararo, Rins and Cal Crutchlow
after Jerez, after Mugello and after Misano. So really, the onus is going to fall probably on the shoulders of Crutchlow, who himself has complained in his own unique and special way that Yamaha have not tapped up or tapped into his experience and knowledge enough. So you do feel that Yamaha really do now have to up their game in terms of the testing and get Cal Crutchlow out on circuit a lot more than what they have done over the last couple of years. Like we talked about, Lewis, it's one thing for the Japanese manufacturers to get concessions. You've now got to use it, you've now got to capitalise them, which was Quartararo was at pains to point out a couple of races ago.